Thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to do our launch of our new tool, the OPC Integrator. So OPC is the Oracle Primavera Cloud tool. So the newer tool that Oracle has introduced. It used to be called Prime, and that they've introduced it, I'm not totally sure, 5-6 years ago, something along those lines. I want to welcome you, and I'm Nicole Jardin. I'm the CEO of Emerald Associates. I'm actually in Montreal today. Mary Lynn Backstrom in Edmonton will be doing the demo. She will show you the software in detail. Now, this is our first release, so I will run through sort of the plan that we have for this tool. And our lead programmer on this tool is Jess Regal. He's actually in Argentina. Very jealous to see that beautiful picture that he's got there, and he is on the line. So if we have any technical questions or things you want to understand, he's with us. Ravi, who's our lead programmer on P6 Loader, is also on, so we can touch on both subjects as needed. So let's talk first and foremost about OPC. So this is the cloud-only tool that Oracle introduced. As I mentioned, it's cloud only, and it's like P6, but it's sort of been overhauled. So it's got a little different look and feel to P6 Cloud. Mary Lynn will be going in the tool, so you'll see it. So let's talk about the common struggles that we face when we're doing planning and scheduling for a portfolio. So the biggest struggle usually is getting all your data into the system, getting it in, making sure it's in and usable for your team, and also making sure that you can get it in quickly and securely. So that's the getting started. But then once you get your data into a system and you're working with it, integration. Integration is such a big thing these days. We've got data from multiple systems. We have data from maybe our ERP system. We may have data from a GIS system. We don't want to have to rekey data and potentially rekey it wrong. Okay, so integration's been a thing that Emerald's worked on since our inception. So for 30 years, we've always had programmers on the team, and it's a key part of what we do. So this is just our newest tool. We've been working on Unifier overhaul to our archiver and our integrations there as well. And of course, we've already got our P6 loader, which does major integration into P6. So this is our newest one. So what we're going to focus on today is how you can use OPC with Excel to move data in and out. Okay, so it goes far beyond the importing and exporting out of the box. So that's what we're going to focus on today. And as we grow this tool, we will start to expand it out to make it a true integration platform with OPC. So today, first version, so launch, this is our launch. It's not, we have a few little things we're still going to fix by the end of the year. So it's really going to be available for purchase in the new year. But it's pretty darn close, and so we wanted to share it with you so you can start to see the sorts of things that we've got. So today we're going to focus on our version 1 features, WBS, activities, resource assignments, so the heavy hitters, and of course, activity codes. In OPC, they also have the concept of user-defined fields. They're just called configurable fields. So it's the same idea, just a different name. And we're going to show you how you can move the data in and out of Excel with OPC very easily and very securely, and also in a much more user-friendly manner than what's out of the box. Okay, so that you can, if you're looking at OPC as the tool within your organization, and you want to be able to know how you're going to keep your data integrations going. So this is a good idea to do some exploration. Now, OPC as an option or an alternate to P6, it might be an alternate option to P6 for some of your organizations. I would say where there's still a gap, and I'm not sure if that gap will ever close, is if you're doing turnaround scheduling, where you have to make sure you're up, okay, all the time. And that's something to consider, okay? So we will walk through the integration component that we're highlighting in our version 1, and Marilyn will show you the tool as we walk through. And then we'll run through some of the benefits that you can experience if you're interested in exploring this tool. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm going to hand it over to Marilyn, and she can run through how this tool works. So let me just switch over and give her control. Transferring it now, Marilyn.
Okay, I'll just get my screen share going.
Okay.
Oh, I want to make this bigger. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see OPC on my screen.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, where I wanted to start here, and Nicole mentioned that OPC, of course, it contains very similar data to address your project requirements, your program requirements, your portfolio requirements. The data that is in there as far as activities and costs and progress and all that good stuff is still in this tool, but you can see right off the bat, it is set up a little different. So what we're going to deal with here, I would like to show you how would I go about, I need to set up a new project. Well, I've got a webinar demo file that we're going to be using, but I want to grab some information from this particular file, this August 28th file. I'm creating a new file, and I want to go in and I want to grab the information in this file and use the activity information in the new file. Now, I don't want the same resource assignments. I don't necessarily want the same logic, but I know the activities are what I'm going to need. Well, out of the box, let's look at that first, because if I go in and I say, okay, I want to take this information out with what is in OPC right now, I'll go in and I'll say actions, download, import template. Now, if I have the information somewhere else and I want to copy paste it, I can use the empty template. But it would make more sense for me to download the template with data, because that's going to give me the activity information that I want to use. So what I want to do now is, let me just run that again. It almost looks like it didn't download it for me. Just going to go and run it again. Download it with data. Oh, here it is, ready for download. I'll say, okay, I'll download it twice. It's not going to hurt anything, but I will. So once it says it's ready, you can see I've got 2 here just because I got a little overzealous there. So I'm going to download, and I want to open this. So it doesn't work any different than any other of the downloads. I don't think I caught that one. So activities export. So when you download the template, this basically is what you get. Now, at the outset, I mean, I'm not suggesting it can't be used. It can be used, but there's a few things you want to be aware of here. If I want to use the activity information here, I'm going to enable editing. When I first saw this template, to me, if I need the information in the activities tab, then I should be able to remove the instructions, relationships, assignments, because right now all I've gotten from the people that are on the team that are putting this together is the activity information. It is the information that's in this file that they want to start with. Well, if I go in and I click on instructions and I delete this tab. And I go into relationships and I do the same thing because that's not the information that I want. And I go into assignments and I delete that one as well. So I've just got the activities. I'm just going to save this under a different name, so we'll know exactly what's going on, not get lost in any other sheets or anything. So this is my activities load. So out of the box, this is the activity load sheet. So I'm just going to save that. Now, I don't need this one open anymore. Now, that's pulled out of the file I want to take the information from. And it's very common that creating these files, you might not take the whole file. You might have a WBS or a number of WBS sections, that kind of thing that you want to take. But let's go to another project. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to home here. And I'm going to have to go back to the workplace because it's already transferred me out. So this is the screen we were looking at to begin with. So I pulled the information from August 28th. I'm going to open our demo file here and let's put this in there. So if I open the demo file, it's activity information that I've actually got. So what I want to do, as soon as it opens the file, I want to go over to my activities. And before we go in and try and import this, you'll see there's nothing in here. This file is empty. So if this is where I'm building my file, theoretically, I should be able to go into Actions, and I should be able to go to Import and just pick up that file I just created. So activities load out of the box, say Open, and import it. Now you can start to see the path we're going to go down. Unable to import activities, one or more errors. I can download the error, but I know already what it is here. You'll see the pages that I took off here, they're back on. If I go to activities, it gives me a page with nothing in it. That's the page I wanted, and there's nothing in it. If I go to relationships, there's nothing in it. If I go to assignments, there's nothing in it. Well, what happens here is if you're going to use their template, now they do now have a line in here. If you go and read all the instructions, you'll see all sheets must exist in the order shown in the template for successful import, even if you're not going to use them. They still have to be there, including the instruction sheet. Now, the first time I saw this software, of course, my head being what it is, I thought, okay, I want activities. And I even left the other sheets on, but I removed the instruction sheet, wouldn't load. That one for me was a bit of a head scratcher. So when you download their template, you can remove some of the columns on the other sheet. You can delete them, but all of these tabs have to actually be there, including the instruction sheet. Well, let's look at a much easier alternative. So if I go over to the OPC-Integrator, and I'll just log in here. I logged out because I didn't want it to time out on us or anything. Oops.
Let me interrupt while you're doing that, Marilyn. So could you imagine giving that to some guy in the field that you wanted to update a few activities? So, you know, it is quite onerous, the process, depending on how you want to use it. So yeah, Marilyn's going to show you something we think is a lot easier.
Just a note on that import template as well. It is not a case of being able to export the template, remove the columns you don't need, and then be able to export that template in the same configuration the next time. If you're exporting that template again, you're going to have to go through removing the columns you don't want again. So that's what you'll find here. What you'll find here is if we go and we want to download information. So I can go in and grab, for example, activity information, code information, all of these pieces. So let's look at activities. If I go into activities here and I've got a little pencil, in other words, I have an edit feature here. Now, this particular edit feature is so handy. Whether it's in the OPC loader or whether it's in the P6 loader, doesn't matter which product you're dealing with, this sits in both of them. And what it creates, if I wanted to create a very simple export, maybe I need the key information and maybe I need a couple or 3 columns here, but I don't want anything else. All I have to do is go and select everything else and send it back to available fields. And for what is selected here, and you choose exactly what you want to show up depending on what you need to do with it. Now, I can go in and save this, and then I can go and say save and load. So I've created a configuration. You'll see I've got a few here, but I've made a new one. And if I want to actually save that, I can say save as, give it a name. So I could say, not very creative with the names, but I know that's what I've created just now. I could have one that says export a specific set of information and it would be there. So once I give that a name, say apply it, if I export this, and we can do that. So if I export this, and I'll just make it with the one sheet, keep it less confusing. So we'll export the activities with the configuration that I've just created. So if I go in and I want to look at what that looks like, I'm just going to go to non-prod. I'll just go down to the files that we were using here for the demo. So I'll grab this August 28th again. And what I'm going to do then is just say download it. Now it comes through, starts processing, and it doesn't take a long time to process information. If there is any issue that you see come up, something happens and it can't produce what it needs to, it will give you a message and indicate what the problem is. This one's fine, as they most are. And if I go to download, it downloads this file. So if I go in and I open this file, we'll have a quick look at what this looks like. So it comes up and says enable editing. Here's my one sheet activities. That's all I asked it for. And here's the columns that I included in the profile. I don't have a spreadsheet that goes 60 or 80 columns wide. I've got the information I asked it for. Now, at any point, I can use this, I can make edits, I can load whatever I need to do. But what you want to be aware of course, is I don't have to go back in. And when I go to take that information out, if I want to change to another definition, I can just come in here and choose another one and export with that. I don't have to go and build that every time. And that's one of the things that the way, and I realize things change as the software gets a little bit more mature, but right now you don't have any of that information, any of that configuration available on out of the box in OPC. So what I want to do now is let's go to OPC. Now we've seen the out of the box for the activity side. Now I'm going to put the WBS in here first. So I'm going to the WBS. And all there is just like in P6, you've got a file created, you've got the root level, that's it. Now I could do the export and pull it back in, but I've got a load sheet created and I created it by pulling information out with the OPC-Integrator. So if I go in and I'm just going to go and open my WBS load. So here's, it's just a small WBS, but you can see this is very simple as well. So when I go to put it in, I don't have to deal with a whole set of columns that I may or may not actually need to address. I don't have to look through them each time. This is the information I need to load. So what I'm going to do here is close this, close that one too, and let's go to the integrator and upload. So we looked briefly at downloading. That's how all these templates I'm using were created, these load sheets. So if I go to choose file, let's put the WBS in here. Because when you're building a file, I don't know if it's the same for everybody, but I know in my case, I've worked through quite a few over the years. And most often you don't get all the information right at the start. So you're likely going to need to add different bits and pieces. So I got the WBS. This one is fairly short. Maybe I need to add to it later. I can take that same load sheet and do exactly that. So if I go to WBS and I refresh, you'll see the little plus beside. Here is the WBS that I just added. Now we've got our WBS in there. So now I'm looking at the file and I'm thinking, okay, I know that the activities in this other file that we had looked at out of the box are the ones we want to start with. So how do I get those in there? Same idea. All I have to do, I've gone in, I've downloaded or exported the information, and now all I need to do is load it up. So I go to upload, choose the file. So I've done the WBS. I want to do the activities next. And by the way, I know the activities that are in that file need to be used, but I'm loading the resources separately because I have indication from the team that the resourcing, the costing, that kind of side of it for the file I took the activities out of would not be correct. So I have another load sheet for starting the resourcing and the financing. So I'm going to open this and same thing, I'm going to upload it. So we'll put the activities in. And once we've got the activities in, of course, then we start getting a little bit of the resource loading and the financing. We don't have it all yet, but the piece that we do have, we want to go in and add it as well, because it always works fairly easy, or I find at least easier, if as you get the information, you can add it to your file and the activities have been added, then it builds progressively, nothing gets missed, nothing falls through the cracks, that kind of thing. So if I'm going to activities and I just refresh, you'll see what's come in. So here's the activities. And I'll just move this out so we can see this a little bit better right now. We'll deal with a few other things in just a minute. But as I said, we don't have any resources in here yet. So we've got our activities in here, but we don't have the resources in here. So how are we going to get the resourcing information in here? So what we've got, again, same idea, and you can load these load sheets together. I could have done activities and resources together, wouldn't have mattered. I just did them in pieces just to show you, if you're getting the information progressively, you can put it in your file progressively. So I'm just going to load the resources and the financials for the resources. And I'm going to upload that. And as we load these sheets, of course, you can see your project and the associated information start to build, and pretty easily, because you haven't seen me click inside the OPC keyboard really, other than to export the template yet. So all of this is just allowing you to take information, and it doesn't necessarily have to be from OPC. If you like direct as a pull, if you have the information in another system, if you put it in a load sheet, you can still load it all together. So if I go to activities, and again, I just need to refresh. And now if I start, and I'll bet people were starting to think, oh, it didn't load. I've been there. It can give you a start when you're only adding certain pieces of information, but I do have a small resource load. So it's hitting the first few activities. I've got first bits of information. It definitely did go through and loaded, including the cost piece. So
Marilyn,
yes,
would it be valuable to show the resource assignment tab on one of them?
sure.
Okay.
There's your pipe fitters. And if we go to Boilermakers, same thing. I've got scaffolders up here.
Okay, great, thank you.
No problem. Very good point. I should have been showing a little bit more than the columns there. So we've got activity information. We've added the resource and the costing information for the resources. Now, what about codes? Now, that's one place where let's go to activity codes first, and then we'll talk about a configured column. We'll come back to this and show you that you can put an update in there really easily as well. But just before we get there, let's go into, and I just need to get to the top here, too many screens running. So what I want to do is go into activity codes, because sometimes you've got quite large codes, lists and things like that you have to actually go in and add here. And there's something that you may already have come across this. I've got the codes window here. I've got this neat little add code. Now, when I first saw this screen, when I first started using OPC, I'll be very honest, I thought there was an export sheet under here. I really did, but there is not. So you can use, again, OPC-Integrator, great tool to help you out with that. So I've got a couple of code load sheets. I don't want to go over and over the same thing or anything, but let's go in and first of all, just add a couple simple codes. Now I realize between those two, it's only a few lines, but if you have to keep going and doing that for a number of files, or if you keep having to manually add them, it can get very labor intensive. So let's go in, and if I go to upload, I've already got a sheet created that has some codes in it. So depending on how you want to look at the information, let's go with a simple one first. So I've got a codes load here. And if I go in and upload this, it'll do the same thing it usually does. Work through the information, and that particular sheet I can definitely show you. There's not, you'll see when it goes in, it's loaded it. That one was a small load. I just want to show you, if I go in and now I hit F5, there's two codes I've added. So I've got a code for crane, I've got a code for permit. Now, as I said, those are very small ones. If I need to go and change the order on these, I can definitely do that, and I'll show you that with the next code that I'm going to walk through here. So if I go in and I add a larger list for my codes. So I've got a couple of equipment codes, not nearly as huge as they would be on a full-blown schedule, but just to give you an idea, you can load whatever amount you require. So if I go in, and let's go in and upload. And I've got a couple of equipment code ones here. And what I'll do first, I'd like to upload just the equipment. Then I'll show you an example, very simple example of how easily you can change the order for these. Because that's sometimes you're looking and you've got your codes added and you've got a big list, 50, 60, 70, and the decision is made that, okay, what you've got at the very bottom of the list needs to be at the top. Well, you can, in some cases, cut and paste, or you can sit there and click, click, click till you get it to the top. You don't have to. You can just reorder them in your load sheet and reload them. So we'll put this one in and we'll upload it. And this is a couple of different lists of equipment, because the idea, this came from a project where, well, it's part of the list from a project where they had material and equipment sitting at two different ends of the project area, for example. So you can slice and dice it a number of different ways. So if I go to codes, looks like the other two are the only two I've got, which really is definitely not true. So if I refresh here, you'll notice it collapses them, but I've got equipment at the south and equipment in the north, as well as I've still got my permits and my cranes. Well, that's a pretty fast way to get those code elements in there. Now, if we look at the equipment north, for example, you'll notice I've got a list. Now, what you want to be aware of is you can reorder them in your load sheet, and you can load them into OPC. But if you load them into OPC and then you, for example, click on ID, so you've got this element here, it's going to stay sorted like that. So you may reload them and think, oh, that didn't work. So you need to make sure that you're not forcing the sort from inside OPC if you want to do it from the OPC loader, the OPC integrator. Sorry, I knew I was going to say that at one point. So what we want to do, let's just load the equipment a second time. So I'm going to choose the file, and I've got my codes load, my equipment order, and here is my load equipment. So you'll see it's not a huge change, but when I open this and upload it, you'll see where it can make your code values change. So you can get them in the order that you want using this, as well as going at it from a different direction. So this one is loaded. And if I go in, and I am going to have to refresh. Now you'll see I had basically field trucks, different trucks at the top. Now I'm seeing tarping, portable lunchroom, weather enclosure, those kind of things. So it's flipped the order in my equipment north. So that's how easy it is to flip the order. Of course, like I said, if you're sorting on the columns, that's going to override what you're seeing in here. But the default order, take the column sorts off, and it's going to show you what the load file did for you. Now there is another element I wanted to show you. Oh, there you can create hierarchical codes as well. So if you want them more than one level deep here, you can definitely load it like that as well. So I do have a hierarchical code one that is built. So if I want to, and I'm just going to show you what a few of these look like in here. And unfortunately, I need to go here the first time because it never wants to stay for me. There we go. So if you wanted to see what any of these particular ones look like, you can click on your load sheet. It's going to just show you the Excel spreadsheet. So you'll be able to see what columns, all of that good information. Now, I have a hierarchical code one built here. Now, some of the labels are probably not what you would necessarily be using, but just to show you, you can make them go in as many levels as you need. So I didn't get carried away with it, but you can load the hierarchical codes as well. So I'm going to close that, and let's load one more code. So depending on what you're trying to do with your codes, you can set up basically whatever you need in your load sheets. And then you're not faced with, okay, I've got the list in here. Now I need to move them all around. Now I need to move them left and right and things like that. So I'm just going to upload that particular one. And we'll have a look at that, then a configured code. And I also would like to show you briefly putting an update in there, because that is huge to me, to be able to load updates to your schedule. So we've loaded the hierarchical code. And again, now what I need to do is refresh it. Now I've got a code here, and as I said, some of the labels are probably not what you would be looking for, but what I want you to be aware of, you can put the levels you need. I've got 2 areas and coordinators here. You may have more levels that you need, more items that you need, but you can see how easy it is to build the hierarchy in here. So build it in your sheet, pull it in, you're good to go. You've got the information there. So what I want to do now is let's look at a configured, well, actually 2 configured fields. Now to go there, of course, OPC, the files are held in workspaces. The workspaces have a hierarchy. So I need to go to the workspace and the test portfolio, the one we were looking at here. And now where I need to go, it's the same. If you haven't been through OPC too much, it's the same as basically the same route once you're into the workspace as you would use for a project. Now, when I'm looking at this information, and you have a lot of places to load configure fields. I just happened to prepare a sheet for activity, but we could definitely have loaded configured fields to other elements as well. So configured fields, you'll notice, and my apologies, I checked this one, but it's obviously wasn't refreshed quite as much as it should. So what I'm going to do is just take those 2 out, because those 2 are the ones I want you to see load. So I just added two more configured fields in there. So I've taken them out. So if I click here, I hit F5, you'll see that they're gone. It always wants me to go back to defaults. So those 2 configured fields are no longer in my list. Now, if I need to put them back, put them in, if I go in and I upload another sheet and I need configured text column, that's the one that's got the load for these 2 columns in it, just open it and upload it. And what this sheet does is just put those 2 columns that you saw in there at the start. So you could load 15 columns at a time if you need to create 15 new configured fields, that kind of scenario. Now it looks like they're not there, which is really not true. If I hit F5 and I go back here, now I put the asterisks in front to make it easy to see. Those are the 2 columns that I just created. So with the use of the OPC integrator, like just showing you some of the basic functionality, you can see how easy it is to add any of these elements for codes if you need to reorder them, any of that kind of information. It makes it extremely easy to deal with it. So you're not looking for, okay, exactly how am I going to get this all in here? That kind of a scenario. So what I'm going to do here is just go home. I'm just going to go back to that demo file that we have, because I do have one more element that I would like to show you. And of course, to me, that's of course being in the scheduling scenario for a lot of years, that is one that is very valuable. Not that it's any more valuable than being able to put codes and things like that in, but you're looking to get your information in as correctly and quickly as possible. So if I go to my activities, we've got our file in here. Now you'll notice I've got the activity status column in here. And if we just have a look at this, just so you can see, there is no progress in there. Now I do have an integrator file that I can load. It's already got some progress in there. So you've got a couple of ways that you can do this. You could send this out, and you can basically filter the ones that do have progress, load them, or you can leave it all in there. So what I'll do here, I just want to show you what's in the load file, so you have an idea of what this looks like. And sorry, I will go the other way because that's always the long route. So it's a little better if we go this way. So if we look, this is our update, just a little sample I created. Now, if I open this particular one, this actually is the entire list of activities out of that file. But you'll notice there is progress posted in here for specific activities. I've got in progress, I've got completed, I've got not started. It's just the start of the project, so there's not tons of progress in here, but this is, it's got all the progress in. So if I want to load it, all I have to do is go and grab that file in OPC, the integrator, and upload it. So if I have a look at the file and I'm looking for the update, and just let it upload. Then we'll go back into OPC and you'll see that it's gone in and it's created or put in the updates for us. And if you're looking for people to update information, I mean, to go in and put the status in here, or if you're going to send them a portion of the schedule and they're going to put status in there, if you do have it divided out, either way, you can definitely do that. So if we go into activities, now, first of all, you look at this and go, nothing came across. It's the same old thing we've always had to do. Just hit F5 to refresh it. Now you'll see here's one of the ones I've got in progress. So if you go down the list, I just put this column because it's very easy, makes it very easy to identify what's going on in here. So we didn't put a lot of progress. We have another one that's in progress. And we do have some completed ones. Where did they go? Maybe I need to F5 it again. So we have definitely gone in and posted some progress to our file. I'm just going to go to another tab because this actually looks like it's not quite refreshing the way it should, because I know there's some completed information in there and it has come across when I was testing the loads, so it should be good. I'm thinking it might be just a refresh issue. I'll see if I can get it to. No progress, not progress. Okay, we've got the in progress. I'm just curious. I'm going to upload this one more time because I know there is some complete in there, and it looks like my screen isn't refreshing, but it does bring the info.
Mary Lynn, did you cut out?
Mm-hmm. Oh, did I?
I'm not sure. It might have been my audio.
She did cut out for me for a bit too.
Okay.
Nicole.
Okay, just for a second. Just for a second. Just for a second.
That's the problem. I'm talking away and I can't even tell. That's my computer's way of telling me I talk too much. So we do have some progress in here. There is one I want to just check here and see in the general. Status. Yeah. I've got a refresh problem on the update, but hopefully this has given you an indication of some of the functionality that is in the tool. Definitely would make life easier for a lot of things, like putting activities, grabbing some activities from another file, using them on the next file, but putting the newest, the revision to the resourcing, to the money, that kind of thing in there. Codes, definitely very helpful, because it's very easy to put your entire list of codes in there. I need to reorder it. Okay, let's go do it. It's very, very easy to do. You can add to, like I said, just take your load sheet, add more codes to it, and hit reload, and it's going to load the information. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a insight into some of the functionality that is, and there's more to come, as Nicole said, functionality in the OPC integrator. Anybody who's used P6 Loader, this definitely, like Nicole said, is along the same lines, and it is an awesome help as far as I'm concerned. Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks, Marilyn. I'll take back control and we'll do the wrap up. So a few technical things just to understand the technology we're using. We're working with the API components of OPC. So we're following their rules. We're not just, slamming stuff into the database, which I don't think would even be that easy to do with it being up in the web. And so adhering to security, your security profiles, all that is under part of using the APIs to do the integration. The benefits, as Marilyn was saying, being able to move the data in and out much more readily, easier to control. The controllability that you've got in the Excel sheets is very important. It's particularly if you want to share this data out with non-OPC users that aren't familiar with all the fields. It's incredibly overwhelming for them to deal with that. So hopefully you saw some of that. And of course, this is our first version, so we will be enhancing and adding to the tool. So I didn't see any questions, which is fine. It's the first version, and some of you may not even have had a chance to look at OPC, depending on what tool your particular company is using. So I don't have any that I need to jump onto. So I do want to thank you for spending the last hour with us. We can help you with a lot of things. Our team, we've got a great team. A lot of the team, a good chunk of the team, is very long-time users, both of P6, OPC, Unifier, etc., and our programming team as well. They've been working with these tools for a long time, so they're very comfortable with automating things. So we've got a P6 calculator, for example. We'll be looking at OPC calculator, allowing you to add functionality into the tool is really what that tool does. So feel free to contact us, reach out. So that's my info. Also, I'll give you Marilyn's info here, so you can reach out if you want to find out more. We'll have pricing models. It'll be similar to our P6 loader in terms of the way we're going to package it. So it's by the volume of usage. It's not per user. So you could buy this package and grant it out to numerous users. So it won't be, we don't limit it per user. It's on the amount of data you're moving in and out. We'll take the same approach, and we'll have all that for our official launch, really, and availability coming in the new year. So I think we can stop the recording here. I don't see any questions as of yet, so we'll go ahead and stop the recording.